Okay, we are recording. This is Tea and Tarot episode 2. Really exciting. So today we are covering the Magician and the High Priestess. So,
Very exciting.
as per always, do you want to start with your tea? What are you drinking today?
Oh yeah. Okay. So I have no idea what it's called because I dumped it. But basically there is lavender,
Ooh.
chamomile, mint, and probably something else.
Oh, that sounds delightful. Did you
But it's
make
very
it?
relaxing. Well, it's steeping, yeah.
No, but like, did you create the blend yourself?
No, I
Oh.
didn't. I wish actually though, this place in my town, I guess I have a few other places across the states. What is it called? Spices and tea or something like that. I don't know what it is, but yeah, they're amazing. It's such a sensory experience when you go into the store. They have big, like much bigger jars than this, and they have all sorts of herbal blends or just like, one blend or one sort of herb and you can blend them together, make your own. It's really exciting.
Yum.
You can like open up and smell and you can actually take like they'll make you your tea blend if you want to try it out first before you buy it. Yeah, it's super fun.
Most people
Yeah.
like to like go for a drink on Friday night. I would like to go there. To be
It is
like,
fun. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe next episode I'll bring that to you.
yeah, a fun mug. I like your mug.
It was star related.
It is, and mine is too, as per usual, right?
I love yours. I
My
need something
Virgo
like
mug.
that. I know.
So tell me a little bit about, do you know any benefits to some of those herbs in your concoction?
So lavender, chamomile, right? What do we think of? Relaxation, bedtime, calming. So I'm a little amped up today. Had a cup of coffee too many. So yes, I need to kind of come back down a little bit. And I think these herbs are really helpful. But I'm not sure
Good.
about mints.
Mint, I'm familiar with the mints just because I'm a Virgo and I have digestive funness. So
That's right.
mint is a regular in my life for digestive. Like it's really good after dinner or something to help you digest. And
Talking about that.
I think it's really good like topically for so like some skin issues. I mean, I guess you'd have to play around with that. Some people are sensitive to like essential oils, but
Yeah.
it's funny that you're drinking that tea today because I'm drinking chamomile and lavender, and it is from, what is the brand name of this tea? Traditional Medicinals, and they have these fun little messages on them.
I love that.
And this says, "From a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow." I love
very
that.
good for like the magician.
I know,
especially.
right? Very aligned, very aligned. And it's funny what we're aligned because I only ever drink 1 cup of coffee a day, but I had 2 this morning. And so I was like, let's amp it down. Let's get something. So, and yeah, so lavender, I'm drinking it just to calm, but also because I've been having some lady stuff, some cramps. And so it can be very good for menstrual cramps. It can be very good just to calm the whole nervous system down and just to promote relaxation. And then I also read that it can help with like inflammation. I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
Oh,
it makes sense if it calms
it does
everything,
make sense.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's one of my favorite teas. I usually drink it at night, but
yeah.
So that's that. So
changing it up a bit.
So yeah, so this episode might be a bit shorter because we're not doing the whole intro. I will post the link to our first session if anyone wants to hear us ramble about tarot hand and all that.
It was a slight ramble, but we had fun.
Oh, we did. So let's talk about the magician first. I will put photos on the screen. So like, why don't you share your relationship with the magician, your thoughts on the magician? I know that we read a bit differently. So
yeah,
sometimes I like to share examples for new readers of, what this might mean if it comes up for you. So yeah.
Okay.
Take lead.
Well, again, I think we kind of talked about this last time, but it's so, for me, better understanding the magician depends on where it shows up in the spread and also the question being asked. But initially, I think just like looking at the magician, so he's it's represented by the number one, right? One, new beginnings, new journeys, the start of something, right? But if you look at the card, he sort of has like everything he needs, right? The four, I call them suits, but you have a better word for them. What are you, the elements, I think, right?
No, I suits. I use that word too. Do I use elements sometimes? I might
I
use
think
them
you did last time.
interchangeably.
Yeah, and I really like that. I think that kind of aligns better for what they are. Because when I think of element, I think of like,
Like earth,
yeah,
water.
pieces of creation though, right?
Hmm.
Like an element helps create something bigger. And I kind of like the symbolism behind that word.
Hmm.
So anyways, looking on his, I'm looking at my traditional rider weight here. And he has, so all the pieces of everything he needs. Um, but again, with one coming in, it's like there's the power of manifestation, all the tools, and he has so many tools here, right?
Hmm.
So all the pieces are there for the start of a new exploration of self, journey, whatever it might be. Like maybe it's in a career reading or a career spread or career question, like you're ready to go, like start this new adventure. It's still at the beginning, there's more to learn, and some effort's going to be done on your end, but everything's there for you, right? But it needs some action behind it. So I see, again, I don't necessarily see any one card negative or positive necessarily, but I think this is an auspicious card, especially if someone has any concerns, thoughts, questions about beginnings of something new.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the Magician. My card is intense. I will show it on the screen, but for you to see, this is the Gilded Tarot. He's kind of serious there.
Love it. He's very focused, I feel.
He is, and he is not messing around. So in this, I don't know about the Rider-Waite, but he has like literally a wand, a cup, a sword, and a pentacle. So all the elements or suits, whatever you want to call them. And to me, that's really symbolic, like you were saying, that you have everything you need. And a lot of clients, when this has come up, and again, the context, when I told them that, and I've had to tell myself this too, like, it's kind of an annoying message when you're kind of like, okay, now what do I do with this?
Right.
But he is like, some keywords that I wrote down about the Magician were, creativity, resourcefulness, a lot of skill and ability. He actually, the astrological connotation with him is Mercury, like he's very mercurial. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where that comes from. I'm not like a master of, the astrological connections with the cards. So if anyone else,
that's not true.
If anyone else knows anything, let me know. Yeah, he is a major manifester. He knows how to get what he wants. And like you said, it's a number one. So it's kind of up to the person, right? What are they going to do with this? And so I've seen this come up when the person has a lot of potential. When it's a really good time to launch something new. So like after retrograde, so maybe not today, January 29th, but maybe later. So he's come up when it's like, yeah, the coast is clear, you're good to go. Like you can go do what you need to do. He's come up to show, because we read very differently. So he's also come up, if he's representing a person, I think of someone who can be very charming, someone who can manipulate, right? He knows how to get what he wants. So again, this is when we're getting those positive, negative connotations, right? Manipulation isn't always bad, right?
Agreed.
We need to manipulate sometimes to get what we want, but we can do things like, think of like a shady car salesperson, right? Like they manipulate on a daily basis. And he can be very attractive and very like, the other word I wrote down was like illusion, right? He knows how to make you see him. And I'm speaking like in a pronoun, but there is no gender specification with any card. I say he or she mainly because of what the person looks like on the card, but I do want to put out there that this is not gender specific. I should say they, just to be respectful, but So
Well, I
yeah,
mean, we can still talk about masculine versus feminine energies, I think.
true. I just wanted to put that message out there for everyone. But um yeah, so but interestingly, Mercury, if he's related to Mercury, Mercury is one of the planets that doesn't have a gender. Like some of
Mhm.
the planets are more like masculine versus feminine, like Venus is a very feminine planet, right?
Yeah.
But Mercury is the one that is, from what I've learned, and again, someone can correct me if I'm incorrect, but that isn't associated with the gender. So that's kind of interesting.
So that's really interesting that you bring that up because I
I shouldn't
mean,
say gender, but with masculine or feminine.
so I actually just based on the little bit I know about Mercury, fast moving, direct, like big communication planet. And like for me, I see that as masculine energy, right? Whereas like a
Because it's
feminine,
more like, yeah, I see what you mean.
direct, yeah,
Yeah.
like just kind of more bold sort of thing.
It's a
And also
doing energy, right? It's doing.
yes,
Mhm.
yeah, very action oriented and also too like getting things done. Whereas I see like feminine energy is more like internal,
Like
introspective,
Neptune, or yeah.
reflective. Yeah, like that feels very feminine to me. As far as labeling though, it doesn't really matter. But like kind of too with like the magician, and I know we're getting into this with the high priestess. This feels very much like, I mean, I think again, depending on the question or the spread being asked and where the placement is, this feels like something that can be manifested or manipulated in the external world more so than like with the high priestess, which feels more introspective. But
True.
again, not to say that, you know, you don't necessarily need to look within to understand yourself
Right.
with this card, especially I feel like if it comes up reversed.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. But actually, I really see, this is what I love about these conversations, because
I
I
know
just
we have good
learned so
ones.
much. Like, I love that. And I totally agree. This is not the time for introspection. This is the time to go get your butt to work, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the way I see that card. So yeah, so I've seen it come up for like representing a person who is highly charismatic,
Mm,
who is very attractive. Again, that's subjective. So to whoever I'm reading for, right? If this is how this person is showing up in their spread, I'm going to
yeah.
know that this person is probably highly like attracted to this person. They might dress really cleverly. They might have a way with their words, right? Mercury.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I can see that.
mhm. And they're a go-getter, right? When I see this card, this person is a self-starter.
Yes.
They know what they want, they know how to get it. And so now we can kind of move in, if you want, is if we've covered everything when it comes to the basis of him when
Yeah.
he's reversed. And again, I know we read very differently. So I'm curious to, like, if this showed up in a reading for someone like yourself or someone else you were reading for, like, what would your interpretation be? Of course, context, matters, but
Yeah, depending, right? I guess for me, like I see reversal sometimes as like in a general sense, right, as an imbalance of energy. So maybe now is not the time where you feel like you have everything you need to start something new. More work might be needed before you start this new journey. Perhaps more introspection of potential barriers that maybe haven't been resolved yet. You don't have maybe the confidence necessary to manifest in the external world, right? So again, depending on what else shows up in the spread might give a little bit more insight or maybe even
mm-hmm,
using a clarifier, like what might need to be kind of the magnifying lens shown
mm-hmm.
on before we're able to kind of get going here. Like it
Yep,
feels like there's something missing or an imbalance.
yep, I agree. And I wrote some keywords for reverse. And again, I'll probably put a note on the video that, of course, these are our interpretations. Every tarot reader reads differently. The purpose of this is to, help you gain new insights, help you have a deeper understanding of the card. But if it doesn't resonate with you, then that's okay.
Then it's
Um,
not for you.
yeah, exactly. So some words I wrote for him reversed are like plans not working out, like you said, unrealized plans, trickery, and deception, almost, right? Because there's that manipulation to an extreme, right? Like someone
Yeah,
is purposely misleading you, right? Or
I can
you're
see that.
purposely misleading someone else. I've
Yeah,
seen,
like maybe in like a relationship reading, you're asking about this new partner and it
mm,
comes up reversed. Like that would make me feel a little
I've actually,
slow
yeah,
down.
in one particular reading, because I can share, I remember things that just, I know that sometimes you're like, how do you remember these things? I just do.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but some that just really stick out to me. Like I've seen, it was the magician, it was a love reading. Those are the ones I do the most. And he came up to represent a person, and it was clarified with the devil.
Okay.
And I can't remember, there was something, there was obviously other cards included in this spread, but basically with the other cards and the contacts and yada yada, this person, and then from what the person told me later, um, this person was like a pathological liar,
Yikes.
right?
Okay.
Like they were narcissistic from what I heard,
Mhm.
and they were just kind of in it for the fun, it sounded like. And so they just kind of like said what they needed to say in the moment. And then
Mhm.
it didn't last, clearly, because, it's going to be very hard to keep a relationship going like that, because the
Yeah.
person who reached out was obviously very self-aware. But what drew her to this person was him upright, right? And then she realized halfway through, because he was charming. He said all the right words. He just pulled her in. Um, and I also believe he did he use drugs or drink, or he did. I can't remember which one it was, but he
Well,
liked
especially
to
with that double card.
he liked to dabble in the substances, and that was
Yeah.
another thing that contributed to the lies and the illusions and all that. And so yeah,
Oh
you
my
got to be
gosh.
careful
You
with
know what I
him.
just noticed?
What?
I don't think on yours because you don't see the full body. On the Rider Waite, he has a belt that's actually snake.
Ooh, that's so symbolic.
Interesting.
See,
Not
that's what I
that
love
snakes are
about.
always bad, but they
I'm
can be
gonna
kind of sneaky.
I'm gonna put that up for sure. And I'm just looking at my guy to see what I see. If there's anything interesting that's pulling out to me. I don't see anything snaky like that. Um, but I will say that, yeah, so for like a career reading, I would see that, yeah, more work needs to be put in place. It might be a retrograde. I always check if someone's asking me for a reading on a retrograde, because I said in the last episode, a lot of times cards, if I am reading in reverse, they will show up in reverse. And for like a career, I might think that, yeah, it's either that you need to put some more planning, and other cards would let us know that, right? So if it was
Yeah.
like a pentacle card, maybe there needs to be more of a practical plan, like something
Yeah.
logical, like does this make sense? If it was a wand, maybe your vision needs to be revamped.
Mm.
If it was a cup, like emotionally, are you aligned to this new
Yeah, your
thing?
heart's desires sort of thing.
Right. And then like a more sword energy might be like, maybe there's mental blockages that are
Mental
blocking
conflict. Yeah, for
from
sure.
manifesting. So that's just very superficial. But
Mhm. It
but
gives good insight though to where they can focus more in on.
yeah, like that's what I love about those elements, is it helps you hone in on like, what area do I need to focus on? And then sometimes it could just mean that this isn't the best path for you. And we won't know that until, later down the line, or even future, other cards.
Yeah,
So, because I always say that saying, like, if the door is not opening, sometimes it's because it's not your door, right? It's the
right.
wrong door. Um, I'm trying to see what other contexts he could come up in.
Maybe like even like an opportunity, like if someone's asking about like maybe they're like two different guys they want to get serious, or whoever, two different partners they want to get serious with, or like two different career options, like options coming up for you. And this one comes up, I feel like kind of going back to your sense of trickery. I just feel like when there's like different options presented and like you don't know enough
You
about
don't
the
have enough
situation.
information. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
It would definitely, if this came up in like a career reading, and someone, yeah, I would definitely tell the person like to just back up a notch, right? Reevaluate, rethink, get some more information. Um, And the funny thing is, because I think of Mercury when I think of the magician, I'm thinking about what do we do during a Mercury retrograde? We rethink, we re-strategize, we redo. Everything's a reflection, right? And a pause. And so this card kind of mirrors a lot of that energy. So I thought that was, I think that's kind of interesting. Let me see. Do I have, I'm just looking back. What else did we, what do you think like a lesson would be in the magician? I kind of think, I haven't published it yet, and I don't even know who talked about it. I wrote a book on all the major arcana.
You did? I didn't know that.
It's kind of like it needs to be edited, so it's
how cool.
Not done, but it's a very like, it's not a teaching manual, but it's more like it could be a teaching manual in some ways, but that's not the purpose of the book. It's more of like my experience with it, the karmic, spiritual, higher lessons. And something that I think of with the magician is to be careful what you kind of wish for, manifest, because a lot of people, and I've seen this happen with myself and with other people, manifest what they want, and then they realize, I don't really know if this is what I wanted. I thought this was what I wanted. And I think there's periods where the energy is more potent for manifesting. And so I'm curious, like, what's your understanding of manifestation, and how do you use manifestation, or what do you believe about it?
So I 100% believe that our guides, whatever you want to call them, angels, God, give us everything we need, just maybe not in the way we want. And I think, kind of going down your lane, what you're saying sort of as, I don't know if warning is the right word, but just maybe awareness that maybe the plans you set out, not to get too attached to them, because it might end up looking something completely different. Remember, this is the beginning of the journey, and to continue having an open mind. And also that manifestation isn't just thinking, it's doing. You have to actively participate in what your guides are doing for you. You can't just be a passive observer.
Exactly. And I've seen it too. In the book, when I wrote about it, I was thinking of this old person I used to know, and they wanted to manifest things, but they didn't understand that we have growth to do, right? So sometimes the things you want, you haven't gotten, not because you're not a good manifester, but because you haven't done the growth. And so the be careful what you wish for kind of came up to me, because this person ended up getting what they wanted in this person, but the things that they were asking for were very superficial. In terms of when we want to manifest a partner, I think of, the qualities I want in that person. Are they supportive? Like, how do they handle conflict? How do they handle when I'm not okay? What are their values? How do they treat other people? But her list was, what kind of car they drove, kind of music they listened to, how tall they were. Very, to me, things that have nothing to do with if this person's going to be a good life partner. Right. And the thing is, she got what she wanted on that list, and very soon realized, okay, I have everything, but this person
still not fulfilled.
Oh, the qualities in this person were not good qualities. I believe they were narcissistic. I believe they were self-centered. They were unfaithful. So you got the music, you got the car, you got the height, you got the brown hair, or whatever you put on your list. But what about the person? Like, where's that? Like, what about the soul? And so I always think of that too. And like, I do think I think the universe gave her what she wanted, so she would learn this lesson of maybe like, and again, I don't know, that's just my interpretation of that experience. I'm not that person. I have no idea. But, and I feel like I was quite like that when I was quite a bit younger, very superficial in what I wanted. And we manifest without even knowing, right? Every second we are manifesting.
Beware of your thoughts, mindful thinking.
Thoughts, feelings, beliefs, right? And I would attract these people that might look good on paper or physically look good, and it took me a while to realize that there's a lot more than, a lot of people when they manifest, like for example, a relationship, I've noticed that I feel like I can see where they are in their journey based off what they're asking for in a partner. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I kind of went on a tangent there, but that was just kind of me thinking back on the book about manifestations, that they're powerful. I will say, because we're on the topic of manifestations, their new moons are really wonderful periods for manifestation. I mean, depending on how they're aspected, but for the most part, they're good. Very potent. Your own personal new moon, right? So whatever your rising sign is, that new moon is like huge for you. I always tell people, many astrologers and like people believe that there's like almost like a portal that opens up that allows you like, I don't know how to word
direct
it.
communication or something with spirits.
Yeah, you just have a lot of power. And so it's
Yeah.
a really good time to set intentions for your year ahead. I call them birthday wishes or something like that sometimes. And then also to line up with, like, if we're kind of leaking into astrology a bit, but you know, what house is that new moon in for you? Is it in a money house? Great, let's do some money intentions. Is it in a relationship house? Great, what are your, you know, and it doesn't have to be like, I want a new relationship. It could be like, I want more intimacy within my friendships. I want more connection, or I mean, it could be anything. So I like to line them up with that, but that's totally other topic. You know, what else? Is there anything else that we've missed about the magician that we need to discuss?
Well, something that I don't know, again, is on your card. I'm just looking at the infinity symbol around his head, and then also sort of, I don't know. I don't think duality is necessarily the word I'm looking for, but like, so there's the infinity symbol. He's pointing up, he's pointing down. The phallic symbol on here, masculine, versus he's pointing down at earth, which makes me feel feminine. There's sort of like a completion here, but it's not completion. It's just like, again, showing all the different parts of life, which infinity includes everything that ever will or ever is or ever will be, kind of thing. And I just, again, this is kind of digging in really deep. It's like literally he has everything he needs. Everything is supposed to happen how it will. There's sort of a calmness here. I feel like we might not have figured everything out, but all the ingredients are here. Time to parse through.
I love it. It's kind of like ingredients on the counter, right?
Yeah. What will be created this time?
And the number one, you spoke briefly about that. I'm not. You're better at the numbers than I am.
Again, I think we said this last time. Numbers don't inform me as much with the major arcana, but yeah, I think especially with what I just talked about, sort of this infinity, but then one, it is just showing that we're at the beginning of something new. We have all that we need, but we still gotta mix it together or plan it out or take some sort of action forward towards completion. But everything we have or ever will need is here within us now. Maybe we just got to dig a little bit deeper or kind of go through the motions so that we can, like, right, they say, what is it? Experience sometimes is the best teacher. So like, can't sit there too long and just be a scholar. You have to do. Right. Sometimes learning through doing.
And I was also going to say, in terms of like a karmic lesson, some of the other cards have more profound lessons, I feel, than the magician, but I would say a karmic lesson, because, you know, we are dealing with the majors, right? They're majors for a reason. It's kind of like knowing your power, knowing your potential. What would you say?
Yeah, 100%. I'm glad you brought that up. This is definitely something big that's important to you, important for you during this lifetime, to sort of not too much pause and reflection, but like take stock of the significance of it, because whatever it is that you are about to engage in, whether it be career, spiritual exploration, relationships, money, whatever, this path, this journey you're about to go on is about to teach you some very powerful things about yourself and the world and how you have input in that creation.
Yeah, I like that. I love that. Well, I mean, I think that was a good kind of intro to the magician. Do you think that we're good to move to the high priestess?
I think so. I could talk forever about the majors, I feel like.
I know they're incredible.
I love
So
them.
I'm just trying to, I'm going to pause for a second, just think like, is there anything else that I would say out of all the majors? There's some that I get to this day, and I think every tarot reader feels the same. That there's some cards that you're just more stumped on. And sometimes the magician for me is that, because there's just so much potential that I'm like, it's
Yeah.
like, whereas the other cards can be more direct, I feel.
Yeah. Maybe that's part of the lesson too, finding some comfort and stability with the unknown, which seems dialectical, right? Like, how can it be unknown and comfy at the same time? Usually not really. So
For
maybe
most
that's
of
part
us,
of the
yeah.
lesson. Yeah, you know.
Okay, so the next card we're going to talk about is the High Priestess. She is number 2 in the majors. I will show on the screen. I know that you have Rider Waite and I have Gilded Tarot. And they look very different on both. So we can talk about, let's talk about Rider Waite on yours first. What are some key, like for a beginner who was looking at the High Priestess, what are some key terms you would use to define her?
Duality, darkness, light, fearful, positive, optimistic. Fearful would probably be a better duality. Life, death, like just really look at the opposites, seemingly opposites, shadow, light, but then see how like the High Priestess is, at least in the Rider Waite, comfortably sitting in between the two, about some balance, maybe recognizing that one is not necessarily better than the other, but there is a sense of wisdom and calmness with acknowledging both internal, external influences. I honestly am starting to go on here. I really like the High Priestess too.
I love it.
There's the moon, which is very ethereal, sort of.
I like that word.
Not anchored to every day-to-day practical matters, yet you have behind her again what looks like a garden with blossoming fruit and plants, right, which is a very like pentacles sort of energy, right? Grounded in real life, eternal. So again, I'm just seeing like this comfortability within dialectics. That word keeps coming up for me, but like the opposites, like and sort of she has this book in front of her, but she's not looking at it. She has the wisdom, but she doesn't need to rely on it. She already knows within her. So I'll pause. I do love the High Priestess. What do you think?
that was helpful. The duality, I've heard the duality. Some of the things that you talked about, I want to dive into a bit more because I'm curious to learn. Some words that I wrote are mystery, covert knowledge, intuition, sexuality, and sexuality in the sense of like allure, right? And we'll talk about that as we get into like what she would be as a person. The keeper of secrets, higher power, inner voice. And then we can talk about reversed after. But for me,
can we jump in with sorry,
no worries.
When you said sexuality, that was a duality that I hadn't thought about before. Because especially with the Rider Waite, she's looking directly at me. That comes off as a very confident sort of boss sexual energy.
But she's passive, right?
She's dressed in a very like virginal sort of way. I don't know. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, but the duality for me is that, and again, we'll talk about this when we talk about what she might mean in a reading as a person, but she's passive. She's not active. There's something very alluring about that, right? It's like, have you ever met that person and there's just something about them, but you can't put your finger on it? That's the High Priestess, right? She doesn't need to be the magician or the emperor being out there. She's just, so I'll show a photo of the Gilded on the screen, but on the Gilded, it's a lot more sexualized, I would say, than on the Rider Waite, because she's wearing this very thin veiled kind of, I don't even know what you'd call it. It's kind of like a nightie, but it's like,
and And you can very much see her female form.
Yeah, and she almost looks very Cirque du Soleil, like she's very like the position of her body. She's in like the darkness, and there's water on the ground, and there's two pillars to represent the duality, like you were talking about, and the moon's in the background. To me, that is about intuition, and there's just something very graceful, just like which you don't really think of sexuality and grace in the same. But there's that duality again.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's anything else I'm noticing on this.
Also, in yours, the gilded, with that position she's in, it just feels like fluid.
Yeah.
So, and like kind of going back to like this opposites, dark, shadow, light kind of thing, like very easily, very comfortably, right? Like in that picture of the gilded, like she doesn't look strained doing this. This feels very comfortable, easy for her. We can shift back and forth between external, internal, darkness, light. Like there's no big deal. There's a comfortability with parts of self that may or may not be accepted typically with others.
Yeah. I heard once from a tarot reader that they view the high priestess almost like the librarian of the, was it the major?
Secrets?
Yeah, like she is. She's like a librarian. She has all the knowledge, right? What does a library have, right? It has all this knowledge, and she's like the librarian. So talk about what this might mean if it came up for you in a reading in a specific context. For example, what would you, or another person, or any previous kind of stories you have with the high priestess?
Yeah. So kind of what we talked about with the magician action, and maybe some introspection, but this one is directly pointing, I think, to checking in with intuitive emotions or ideas and trying to release judgments or perceived expectations from the outside world, whether it be from specific environments or specific other people. So like if this came up in a career reading, for example, and I would think, like, if someone's asking me, is this the right direction? And they're talking about, like, they're worried about finances, or, you know, am I going to be able to buy this house with it? Like, none of that matters in this decision. What matters is, does this align with you? Does it make sense with your path and journey you're currently on, right? Like maybe those things are important, but not as important as you're making them out to be. There's something else within that needs to be addressed, whether it be your money mindset, you know, what, you know, your career you want it to look like, maybe like within a relationship or spiritual reading. Just more work or more focus needs to be on maybe darker parts of self, or integrating darkness and light more. Like there needs to be an exploration intuitively.
Ooh, I like it. Yeah, I would agree when it comes to a career. I've also seen it come up in readings, again, career, love, whatever, where it's almost, how do I word it? Basically what the cards are showing me, what spirit is showing me, is that more is yet to be revealed. The seeker is not supposed to know yet, and neither are you as a reader.
Right. Yeah.
So that can kind of be frustrating for the person who's seeking the reading sometimes, when I'm like and sometimes I'll ask what is hidden from this person, and it'll show me, and sometimes they'll show me another card of just pause, right?
Yeah.
Wait. I've seen her come up when it comes to like a person, like just where they are right now. For example, when I was doing a love reading, it came up for a person and how they were, and they weren't actively out there in the dating field. They were just kind of watching. They had some suitors, but they hadn't made up their mind about anyone. They were just, they probably came off uninterested, but they were just kind of gathering data, and again, being very passive and just watching and waiting. That's the characteristics they took on. I've seen it come up in a reading for how other people see this person is, again, very alluring, right? Someone who has more depth to them than they let on, and you can't really pinpoint it with her. And again, I'm saying her, but them. You can't pinpoint it with the high priestess. There's just something about them that you want to know more of. They're not the person who, when you meet, they're going to just be an open book. Oh God, no. They're going to be very quiet and almost like conservative, I would say. And maybe have like
ethereal.
Sorry, I couldn't say that word for a sec. Ethereal. That's a really good word. Kind of magical quality about them that you just want to get to know them. Like they don't attract like an Aries would, or like they're very passive in how they attract. And almost some people would say that they are like unsexual, and I've seen like debates on that, but it's like, no, the high priestess can exude sexuality. It's just in a very passive way. I don't know another word to use.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think we've talked about this in just private conversations with you and I. Like, being loud is not a sign of strength or confidence. It actually just broadcasts your insecurity, like this loud, obnoxious bravado. Maybe not all the times, but sometimes, you know. And just because she's coming off as quiet, I don't see that as prudish or not sexual. I see that as actually maybe even the most in touch with your sexuality.
Right. I agree. She's deep, right? She's not superficial, right?
Not at all.
What you see is not what you get. You don't know, right? With this energy. And she's very mysterious and she's very purposeful, I would say.
I would agree. So like, I recently just noticed this, how in the Rider-Waite, the moon is on the ground. And to me, that typically I feel like, I don't know, I'd have to go back, but in the other cards, the moon is where it should be, right?
In the Gilded, it's in the sky. Yeah.
And I'm just sort of getting this sort of impression from this that like the moon isn't, or that the moon, what does it represent? Kind of some like introspective, emotional, deep, mysterious, ethereal world, right? But with her, it's laying gracefully and comfortably in the robes on the floor, right? What do we do when we put things on the floor? It's sort of a discard. Not necessarily disrespectful in this case, but like her emotions don't have as much power over her. She sees them, she recognizes them, they're there, but they don't overtake her, right? And that's what I just feel like. There's just this really calm, comfortable sense of self, who knows exactly who she is and doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. There's a sense of security of self. And if this was to come up, right, because I think that's a hard place to get to for a lot of folks, especially if they're coming to a tarot reader with some questions. Obviously, there's some confusion there, right? And, you know, I think this card might be suggesting that there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing, the things you fear, you're framing that unhelpfully in your mind. This is just part of you, and that makes you beautiful and whole, kind of thing. Like for me, it's this like, let's sit and talk about the ick. Let's sit and talk about the uncomfortable feelings or emotions that come up when you look in the mirror, or like you are with a partnership that you don't really like. What doesn't feel good? What needs the light shown on it? You know, where can we kind of come to this acceptance place where I'm the best I can be right now? Sure, there might be growth, but I'm comfortable here too, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I feel like, she runs off intuition. I mean, she doesn't run off anything else. And I loved your depiction of how you viewed the moon being on the floor. Like, I think that's phenomenal. Like, I really agree with that. I think that for me, when she's come up in love readings, sometimes it means there's secrets, right? Sometimes it means that there's more that you don't know about this person, and it doesn't need to be bad. It just means that it will be revealed to you when the time is due. Same with like a job or a move or anything. Sometimes it is shown up when it's like more like more needs to come out first
Mhm.
before you're going to know how you feel about this. Maybe more about the job or more about, something, I don't know.
Yeah.
And but it's also come up when there's secrets being kept from you. And she has actually shown up for me in readings when she's actually representing the other woman, literally
Oh, wowza. Okay.
the hidden woman. Yeah. I always get clarifiers to make sure.
Yeah.
Sometimes she just represents that there's secrets, right? And the secret doesn't need to be an affair. It could be any secret. And then sometimes she is represented by the woman who is hidden from you. And then I ask other questions about, will this be revealed, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've seen it in not a lot of readings, maybe like a handful, where you're keeping secrets from yourself.
Hmm.
I might see that kind of in combination with like the Two of Swords. That's, we'll get to
Yeah.
that at some point. But
Yeah, I feel like anytime High Priestess comes up, especially with swords, I feel like there's something here we really gotta dig deeper at and like ask more questions about. It just feels, if there was to have like a negative interpretation of something, because I feel like the mind can be a very hostile place.
oh
Very
God, yeah.
hostile.
Oh my God, it's our biggest enemy or our best friend, and it's rarely our best friend. I'd say rarely.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially when it's paired with this High Priestess card and like maybe a minor. Well, of course it would be a minor, but not one of
Right.
the court cards, like, or if it was paired with a court card. I don't know. Like I'm like feeling repelled by it. I'm like having all this emotion. Like I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? And it's not even happening. But yeah, no, I definitely think that it can definitely denote, especially if swords come up as a clarifier part of the reading, that there is some sneaky, shady things happening that are not helpful.
Yeah, I agree. I want to talk about the duality for a bit, because you had
Yeah.
mentioned like fear and stuff. I'm not familiar with that. Like, do you mind kind of diving into that a little more?
Yeah, I don't know. This might be kind of,
I've heard of the duality, but some of the ones you mentioned, I was like, oh, I never thought of it like that.
yeah. I mean, I think we live in a world of duality. Like the most basic one is shadow and light, right? Like the sun comes up and then it goes down and night comes in. There's always dualities. There's always extremes. And what's the opposite of fear, right? Hope. And in one of my favorite spreads, oh, here we go again, is Celtic, right?
Celtic. Yeah, we went with Celtic last time.
Yeah, Celtic. I think it's I forget what number, but one of the cards or one of the placements of the spread represents hope and fear.
Oh, yeah.
Like so what we hope
I
for
hate how it's
actually
this.
what we fear.
Yeah, and I hate that position, Car. I hate that.
Really? I think it's so informative. I love that position.
I mean, I get that it's a duality in itself, right? But
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll ask what's their hope, and then I'll ask what's their fear.
So I really like it because I do think we self-sabotage all the time.
Mhm.
And I think and this is kind of going back to the magician too, we can kind of block our manifestation because we're letting these unknown or unrevealed fears get in the way of our success. So like we might want to be financially successful. We might want to have the most beautiful relationship, but the fear is, maybe I'm not worthy in some way. Maybe I'm afraid to get close to someone. Maybe I'm afraid to trust them. And so you self-sabotage in other ways to kind of hide and cover that up because that's uncomfortable to actually deal and process. So I think really interesting conversations can come with putting that mirror up of the duality.
Mhm.
What we might want is actually what we fear. So that's what's getting in our way is this fear. But that just specifically with that. But yeah, I think everything's sort of on a spectrum, right? And so, or not, maybe one side of the same coin. Is that a saying? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I've heard
it's
of that.
all
I
of
think.
what we need. And I think again, like the tarot and especially the majors, like everything comes full circle, 1 through 10, right? Like, I
Mhm.
mean, it's all part of the journey. It's that infinity, right? Infinity is actually the true nature. Everything ever will be, is. And we get stuck or confused in these dualities, these all or nothing thinking. It has to be this way and only this way. But like part of complete integration is represented by the high priestess. I'm completely comfortable in between these two pillars of darkness and light, you know, things that might be
what are the letters? What are the letters on those pillars?
I never figure this out. It's B and J. I have no idea what that is. B is in boy, J is in Jim.
We're gonna look this up. Okay, they stand for Boaz and Jachin. I'm gonna butcher these names. The two
this
pillars
must be like mythology or something.
Yeah, it says the two pillars that stood on the porch of Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. They represent the two pillars of the Kabbalah's tree of life, that is pathways to God. I'm not familiar with any of that.
That actually is really interesting to me because, again, this is my own personal beliefs, but I do believe in reincarnation. And I believe part of the purpose of that is because we want to get back into the light of God, right? I mean, and God can be whatever, you know, but we need each life to sort of embody the human experience so that we can evolve. And come towards enlightenment, you know, and like if we're able to sort of master the duality, be comfortable with opposites, that is part of our evolutionary journey to God, to that higher oneness, that expansive light.
Does she have a cross on her robe?
She sure does.
So the cross on the robe represents the four directions and the balancing of the four cells, body, heart, mind, and spirit. So that was kind of interesting. I know that the Rider-Waite has a lot more symbolism than the Gilded from my knowledge. That's really interesting. So I guess the karmic, and we'll talk about reverse in a minute, but I guess the karmic lesson, what I hear you saying is that to maybe reflect on the dualities in your life, or what fear is this bringing up for you, or something like that. Like, what would you say a karmic lesson would be for the high priestess?
Is looking into the dark and not running away or avoiding it.
Okay. For me,
I see tarot as a personal growth, self-reflective tool.
Totally. No, totally. And I've used it for that. And then I use it for other things too. But I agree with that, with what you just said about the karmic lesson. I also feel that it's a karmic lesson of learning how to trust your intuition. There's a saying, be still and know. And I think that is very powerful with the high priestess. I can think back to a time in my life when at the time I didn't know. I was with someone who was a very unhealthy person and very toxic. And every time I was in this partnership with this person, because it was on and off again, I got these really bad stomach aches. It was almost like my body was rejecting this person. And then when we break up, they would go away. And we get back and it happened. And it honestly, after we broke up, and it took me years to kind of think back, because after I got out of that, I just didn't want to go back. Right. I had to really do some healing before I could look back at that time in my life. And I realized like my intuition was yelling, like it was telling me in other ways. And when I wouldn't listen, it started speaking through my body. And I'm actually lucky I didn't get like more physically sick, because it took me a long time it was only a 10-month on and off, but that felt like 10 years. I feel like the high priestess is a lesson and that you are learning how to trust your intuition. And maybe right now you don't understand that, but you might look back on this time and be like, now I get it. And that's why I always tell people when I read for them, like, do not trust my intuition. I want you to trust yours, because that's how you learn. Like you said, you learn through experience. If a tarot reader just tells you, I don't think this is the right person for you, you're just like, okay, like you're never going to learn how to listen to that. Like listen to it. Right. If you're not ready to leave, don't leave. If you feel like you need to leave and, then leave. Like that's the only way you're going to learn how to, because each of our intuition is different. We feel it different. You feel yours different than I feel mine. So I think that's a powerful karmic lesson with high priestess. Is there anything you want to say upright before we talk about reverse?
I mean, I kind of beat this, beat this in this idea. But another thing that comes up, especially with two, we're really just beginning our journey still, and what can get in the way of success and forward momentum, again, is these insecurities or fears or avoidance of uncomfortable things. And so the high priestess is reminding us to take a step back and see in ways that we might be self-sabotaging, and kind of leading into the reverse. If it's reversed, I think this is even more of something you need to pay attention to. How might you be self-sabotaging yourself?
Yeah. So reverse is, I almost feel like I have more to say about the reversal. I feel like let's talk about some keywords first. So when I see a reversal, I'm thinking secrets revealed, exposed, right? Something's exposed, whether it's exposed to the outer world or exposed to you. Repressed intuition, like you're not listening to your intuition, even though it's screaming at you. Confusion, maybe some hidden motives, and even superficiality, I would say, because upright, she's not superficial at all. What would you say? Some keywords, or what are you thinking when you see reversed?
Well, I kind of already talked about it. I think, again, with my reversals, how I initially just read them is really, we got to pause. We need to stop doing, and we need to take some time to reflect, connect patterns, connect previous behaviors, and just rethink our plan of action. Not even think about the plan of action. What have we already learned so far? Okay. What other parts of self do we need to integrate before we move forward? So, everything you said for sure. I don't know necessarily about secrets will be revealed. More so, here's an opportunity to spend more time with yourself to develop bigger insight or better insight into what lays ahead, which I guess in a way is secrets revealed. So for me, I guess it's just more of like a stop and pause, and let's reflect on what we've already done and how we can move forward. And also too, like, I feel like if it comes up reversed, and of course, depending on the rest of the cards, but like, it feels like we really need a moment of quiet. Like, we need to stop like looking externally for self-soothing methods, or looking to others or things or activities, whatever, sort of like calm and center us. Because again, I see her as a very calm and comforting, centered, grounded person. And upside down, like, okay, now I'm really going into this moon thing. The moon's back where it should be, quote unquote.
So maybe emotions,
and the flowers, the more practical stuff, is closer to the ground where it should be. So like, maybe we need to shake up what we think should be going on, and just take some time to really remove ourselves from external distractions.
So that, I agree. And because we read differently too, I see no, but I resonate with much of what you say. I really do. And when the high priestess comes up reverse in my readings, usually they're love readings, it usually is something's coming out. There's a truth. I've seen it come up as like also that like this person is almost attracted to this other person because of this mystery. That's part of the attraction to that person. I've seen it. I'm trying to think of what else. That this person, like if you meet this person, this is kind of like they don't have secrets, right? You think of the opposite, right? So upright, there's secrets. Reverse, it's like this person does not. I've heard other people say like, because, and again, I haven't seen this in a reading, or I haven't interpreted it like this in my own readings, but I've heard other tarot readers say when the high priestess is reversed, because of the upright meaning of like almost class and like the sexuality, but again, like class is the best way I can put it. Reverse, there's almost like this maybe hypersexuality, or maybe displaying that very openly. Again, how you view that is a subjective thing, right? Doesn't mean it's good or bad. Maybe this person's very open sexually. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know if I have a lot. I'm looking at my book. I have this book. I have many books, but this is one of the ones. It's by Roberta Lee. I'll put the cover up. It's called The Language of Tarot. And it just goes through like different meanings, what it could be. And then so she says, revealed truth, uncovered, exposed. She also says that someone could be obsessing about trying to get all the facts when it is actually impossible on this matter. So that kind of resonates with what you said about just needing to step back. Like, we are in overdrive. We are like, this is like the definition of insanity at this point, right? Because we're just we're trying to get this external validation and we're not. As advice, she says, do not ask questions if you're not prepared to handle the truth.
I could see that one.
Mm-hmm.
I like that we're doing this like book writing.
Yeah. And she also says in romantic readings in reverse that it can sometimes mean someone is trying to analyze and explain an attraction. This person may feel like they need to understand their drives and passions and not allowing love to have its mysteries. So I've also heard too, if this was to represent like an attraction, that it can be a very spiritual connection. Like, you two just connect and you can't really, and I feel like I've experienced this in my lifetime. I don't know about you, where I wasn't really that attracted to the person. We didn't really have much to say, but there was just something that drew us together. It was a very spiritual connection. So I've seen that if you're looking at like the partnership as a whole, or what type of relationship will this be? Again, context matters, and clarifying cards matter, because it could also be a relationship where there's a lot of secrets, right? Where you're not telling each other, and it doesn't mean bad secrets like cheating. It just means that you withhold from this person, or they withhold from you.
Yeah, I could see that, especially, and I definitely resonate with that situation, being in a partnership where like it doesn't really look like you guys have much in common or even get along, but there's just this very intense attraction to one another. And I feel like it's expressed a lot of times sexually. Like, you have this like intense sexual sort of connection, and outside of that, though, it just seems to be a lot of conflict and fighting. Just, I guess, toxicity. But also, too, that came up for me when you were sort of talking about the kind of person you see as a high priestess, like reversed. We might, and I'm kind of thinking back to my own personal experience, like with this toxic relationship, this karmic relationship. Like, I built this person into a vision that he actually wasn't. He wasn't anything near that. I created this sort of ideal version. And like, again, when I look at high priestess in her ideal way, she has mastered duality. She feels completely confident and calm with who she is. When we reverse it, that's just an illusion that we've made.
Yeah. Again, so it doesn't mean that person's keeping secrets from you, that you've withheld them from yourself. So I didn't realize how complicated the high priestess was. Like,
so much going on there.
The more we talk about her, I'm like, maybe I need to sit on the high priestess a bit, because a lot of what I've read, especially in books, is about secrets. Either you're keeping secrets, you have a lot of knowledge. This could also be like a tarot reader, or someone who knows a lot, but they don't, preach it everywhere. But I also hear this, or I just see a lot of stuff about secrets, hidden knowledge, secrets being kept from you, secrets being exposed.
A lot of depth.
she does have a lot of depth. I would say, I was thinking of this term the other day and I forget what card I was thinking, but I would say still waters run deep when I see the High Priestess. And I think that most people, if you are a High Priestess person and people are intuitive enough, they can feel that. Like people will just be drawn to you. This is like the awkward, quiet person at the party that everyone wants to get to know, right? Or the person, that meek little soul that doesn't think anyone's interested in them, but they just give off this. Like, they're very elusive too. I feel like the High Priestess, but not intentionally. Not like the Magician in reverse. Like he would intentionally do that.
Yeah,
that's just her natural state.
Yeah. No, and again, that's why I kind of like the Gilded Tarot's version of her in that movement, right? Like
she's so graceful and so comfortable.
But like you said, you can't pin her down. Like, and I'm thinking too with like water, fluidity, movement, like, yeah, you can have a container, but it's not as beautiful when it's contained. Like maybe the High Priestess always needs to be exploring and moving, and that's her best self. Maybe it's not even to say that she stays stagnant within these two pillars or is always comfortable within the duality. Maybe it's like validating or normalizing this fluid movement back and forth. And that is just part of the journey of life. And the lesson learned is that life will zig and zag. And each time you go back to each duality, you learn something new. Movement isn't bad, it's beautiful and necessary.
Yeah. And the other thing that I don't see this when I look at the Gilded Tarot, but when I look at the Rider-Waite, and again, I'll put a picture up. She reminds me, and we'll get to the Hierophant when we get to the Hierophant, but she reminds me of a feminine version of the Hierophant, because the Hierophant has a very similar structure in the Gilded Tarot anyway. And
like with the movement, you mean?
No, just with like the pillars and the structure of the card, just like the visuals. And the Hierophant is like the mentor and the teacher, and he's like he's vocal. He's the spiritual guru, whereas she's more like, it's almost like she teaches by not speaking, right? It's almost like I don't know. I just noticed something just came to me about those two, and that they're like, I've never connected the two, but just now when I'm looking at the Rider-Waite, I see just the similar structure. Anyways, when I look at the Gilded Hierophant and I compare it, and I'll put that on the screen too, there's something about them that are similar, but the way the lesson in them are very different.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Because they're both about spiritual knowledge in many ways, right? I mean, the Hierophant, it has a lot more to it, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But
I'm excited.
Yeah, I didn't realize until we started talking about her that I'm like, I got to get to know the High Priestess a bit better. I don't think I know her as well as I'd like to.
See, she encourages you to come closer, and then when you need to back away, and then come back. That movement. That's so cool.
Just trying to think if there's anything else. I've seen her come out for like the outcome of a reading, and some people hate that term outcome, because what does outcome mean? But like to the near future, we'll call it. And that often is said that secrets will be revealed. More, again, we don't know if this will be, we can ask, like, how will the seeker respond to this knowledge? Or same with like a job, for like, that was in a love context, but in like a job, it could be maybe the business falls apart. Maybe there's a new policy that comes out. Maybe a new opportunity comes to you. There's information that has not reached you yet that will determine how you feel about this job, person, place, thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, anything else before we close this episode?
No, just a comment that it's so funny that we said, oh, this episode's going to be so much shorter. We're just doing these two.
Way longer.
Not at all.